Hello and welcome to Dingoes Ate My Podcast Season 2. I'm Paul,
I'm Dave.
and this week we're discussing Angel Episode 6, Sense and Sensitivity. This episode originally aired November 9th, 1999, attracting approximately 5.72 million viewers. Now, Dave, what do you think the number one movie in America was this week? And I will give you a hint. It's a biggin, and it's animated.
Big and animated. Okay, so it knocked that one Bones movie
Oh,
from.
yeah, The Bone Collector was gone.
But around in the winter of '99 or start of that, something that was a big one. Around in that time. Hmm, most of them sort of thinking about is either a Pixar movie or Disney movie, but nothing immediately is popping to mind.
Well, Dave, it is neither of those. In
Okay.
fact, let's just say it's not a North American release. Well, it's not a
Oh,
North American produced film. It was obviously released in North America. It was this
right,
little,
right.
it was this little film. You've probably never heard of it or its franchise. Pokemon, the first movie. I don't know if that was like a thing or something.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, unfortunately. First off,
Eh,
the balls to call it the first movie.
yeah, just the marketing in the States and whatnot. What are you doing? Um, I can't specifically remember because surprisingly enough, it was around, but it was never something as crazy. It wasn't until the second movie where it was like, oh my gosh, I need to see this in theaters.
Yeah, I want to say, if I remember correctly, that there was like, because it came out on like a Friday or something, there's like, in North America, there was like such a large proportion of students that called in sick that day because their parents were all taking them to see Pokemon because they were being annoying little brats. Anyway,
Mhm.
so yeah, I'm sure we'll never hear anything more about this Pokemon franchise.
Oh no, no. It will die off like all the other particular ones.
Yeah, absolutely. Number one song in America is still Smooth by Santana featuring Rob Thomas. And for video games. Oh my god, this was a good week.
With that from last week. Again, because I have that time frame in my memory, but there's nothing that immediately pops out. At the very most would be something from N64, and that only comes out so much.
No, so there's a couple here that you probably aren't familiar with that I'm going to mention just because they're related to big franchises.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a game called Rip and Rider Snowboarding, which on its own I wouldn't mention it, but it's part of the Cool Border series.
Okay.
It came
That's
out on
understandable.
Dreamcast.
Mm.
There was another game, a game called Age of Wonders, which was a PC release that I wouldn't expect you to probably be familiar with. It's like a turn based strategy kind of thing. It's not something I think you're
Yeah, I got
terribly
nothing.
into.
Mm-hmm.
But it was, it did spawn a franchise, and it was developed by this little company called Epic Mega Games. I don't know. They've probably done nothing since then. However, there were two massive releases this week. So one was a PlayStation. I believe it's PlayStation exclusive. I believe it's PlayStation exclusive. Medal of Honor.
uh, yes. Mm.
I'm not sure how familiar you are with the Medal of Honor franchise.
Hardly any at all. It's mostly the case of I've heard the titles and heard a little bit about the series, but never played it, and it's nothing that interests me.
Okay, so the reason Medal of Honor was a big deal at the time was it might not have been the first game, but it was one of the early games where there was a major like Hollywood name attached to it. The story for this game was created by Steven Spielberg.
Yeah, that would most likely do it.
Yes. And the other big game that came out this week, well, it's not a game, it's an expansion pack, but I don't care. It gives me a chance to talk about this franchise, so deal with it.
Mm.
There was an expansion pack called Half-Life Opposing Force, which is obviously an expansion pack for Half-Life. And Half-Life is very good.
Indeed. Still something I actually need to get to and work on, though.
Yeah, it's very good, but you're not really a first-person shooter guy, though, so I don't know how much you would like Half-Life.
I think with my experience with a couple particular series kind of diving from different aspects and having the first-person viewpoint is just a side thing, I can at least get used to it. And just with my experience with other sorts of shooters and whatnot, I've gained enough to somewhat hold my own.
Yeah, it's a good time. They're very good games.
With how much everyone adores the series.
Yeah, they're very good games, and they have very... Well, I'm not going to say anymore because I don't want to spoil anything. Anyway.
Indeed.
Let us move on to this
how many-year-old game it is. Let's move on to the senses and emotions of the things of stuff.
Okay. So, we see a guy running down a back alley with a black duffel bag being chased by a mysterious pursuer. He reaches his car and starts to get inside until he gets friggin' drop kicked by Detective Kate Lockley.
She's capable of doing that.
I was like, the fuck happened here? It's very good. She then arrests him and takes him back to interrogation, where she keeps asking him about where little Tony is, who's a mob boss that this guy used to work for. Simple premise.
Yes.
They need to find this little Tony fellow because he's been charged with a murder of some politician. I don't remember his exact title or whatever. He's like a councilman or something. I don't remember exactly.
Okay.
Meanwhile, Angel is battling a squid-like demon deep in the sewers, where Doyle and Cordelia bring him an enchanted sword just in the nick of time. Angel hacks and stabs the monster, then leaves Doyle and Cordelia to dismember it.
Well, my job is done. Okay, you guys, go have fun dismembering it.
After Angel disappears, Cordelia loudly complains to Doyle that her boss didn't once say please or thank you, and therefore must think that being a creature of the night gives him license to be rude and insensitive. While the monster wraps its tentacle around Doyle's throat, and she's just like, how could someone be so clueless?
You know, like you at this moment, though, I suppose Doyle couldn't really say anything at the time with the tentacle around his neck.
No, he was rather being strangled. So Cordelia and Doyle get back to the office covered in green goo. Cordelia refuses to take any orders from Angel unless he asks how their dismembering went. Which, that's just good. Then Kate arrives. Angel shows her into his office, and Cordelia quips Mr. and Mrs. Spock need to mind meld now. Oh, Cordelia gets good lines in this episode. Basically, Kate tells him about the whole deal with little Tony, and he's like, yeah, sure, whatever. I'll find him. Again, Kate, at this point, does not know that Angel is a vampire. As far as she knows, he's just a private eye. Angel speculates that Kate doesn't want to get a reputation for going outside the department, but Kate replies, I don't want to get a reputation for getting you killed. And then Angel just kind of not so worried about that.
Yeah, it's a little bit tougher than you'd expect.
Just a little. Cordelia and Doyle help Angel search for information on the mob boss. Doyle encourages Angel to express his appreciation for Cordelia's efforts, which doesn't go terribly well, but is very funny. I appreciate you going through the coroner reports, because nobody wants to read about like coroner stuff. It's very funny. At the police station, Kate's father, Trevor Lockley, enters the office area and seems surprised and uncomfortable when Kate greets him. He's dropping off some paperwork because he's retiring in a few weeks, or like a week or something, like pretty soon here.
Yeah.
And his friends are throwing him a party at the Blue Bar, which is some kind of it's a cop bar in the area, and that she was asked to say a couple of words at his retirement party. Then she gets a call from Angel telling her that little Tony is at a pier in San Pedro, and she's like, "Okay, I'm on my way. Don't do anything stupid. Just get out of there."
Angel did his job, but then he thinks he needs to do more.
So the moment she disconnects, Angel hears a motor and spots a yacht approaching the pier. He dons a hat and a Hawaiian shirt. And introduces himself as a tourist to little Tony and his goon Benny, pretending that he thinks the yacht is the boat to Catalina. It's so good. Benny tries to get rid of the mook, but Angel knocks him out with one punch.
It was the hat. The hat was too much.
Yeah,
right?
The hat was too much.
Yeah, so true.
The other goon, who spun around at the first sound of Angel's voice, manages to throw a few punches before going down himself. Bereft of his muscle, little Tony tries to make a run for it when Kate arrives with the cavalry and takes the crime boss into custody. After little Tony is cuffed and in the back of the squad car, Kate berates Angel for not only not leaving but actively putting himself in danger, as well as giving her something she'll have to explain to her lieutenant. Angela protests that little Tony was getting away, but Kate remains unimpressed. She elects to ride shotgun in the squad car transporting little Tony back to the precinct. At the station, little Tony demands his phone call, and we find out that his lawyer, Trevor Mercer, works for Wolfram and Hart and has arranged for the thorn in his side to be removed. Arriving at the precinct sometime later, Mercer petitions to have little Tony transferred to another facility, claiming that his client was mistreated and abused by the police and a yet unnamed assailant, possibly working with Kate. Nonchalantly denying any such knowledge, Kate then reverts to her usual bad cop interrogation tactics, giving Mercer and little Tony all the ammunition they need for a counterattack. Mercer threatens to expose the department's brutality and callousness to the court of public opinion unless his client's demands are met. We go back to Angel Investigations, where Cordelia congratulates Angel on completing such a straightforward job. Because, they're actually going to get maybe paid this time. Angel thinks little Tony is planning something. Cordelia complains that Angel's intuition is highly attuned to boring old evil. But doesn't even notice something as obvious as her new shoes. Which is very funny, because he immediately goes like, women choose, men don't notice these things. Which immediately Doyle walks in and is like, "Oh, the new shoes, Cordelia?" And Angel's just like, "The fuck?"
Dude, help me out with this.
It's very funny. Kate heads to the Blue Bar after work, where a number of her fellow officers congratulate her on finally apprehending little Tony. Her father buys her a celebratory beer, and then one of the other officers come over and hands her a memo that says that they have to take sensitivity training because of the way that little Tony was treated. So the next day we see them in this seminar. There's a bunch of cops there, including Kate. Lloyd, the man running the sensitivity training, introduces the concept of a talking stick. Basically, whoever holds it can speak freely and openly without judgment, yada, yada, yada. So this starts going around, people open up, yada, yada, yada. Basically, throughout the rest of the episode, the cops who've held this stick are going to become, like, super sensitive and, like, emotionally aware and basically useless.
Yeah, just their emotions have been set on overdrive and completely let loose. So everything will set them off in some sort of way.
Yeah, it's very funny. So that's basically what the rest of the episode is there's a lot of these cops. There's a very funny part where Doyle tries to go to the cops and like knocks on the door and they're like the one cop's like, "We're closed."
Closed. But you're the cops!
You can't close. He's like, "Well, yeah, we are." It's very good stuff.
Do you ever bother thinking about how we feel? All the work we do?
It's very good. Obviously, at the end, we find out that Wolfram and Hart were involved in hiring the person who created all this chaos. Angel gets infected by this happiness or emotional curse thingy, and is quite funny.
Anyone who holds that stick will have their emotions set awry for a certain amount of time.
Yeah. And yada yada yada. What else do we have to get into? Oh yeah, little Tony is able to get out of his jail cell because one of the cops is like, "No, it's not fair to keep them locked up." They get a bunch of shotguns.
It's not fair to lock up these prisoners. They're just worse when we let them out.
Exactly. Little Tony gets a shotgun, threatens to kill Kate. Kate and Angel end up taking him down, rearresting him. The curse kind of passes. I think that's about really it that we have in this episode, isn't it?
Just about. I think the one particular thing is just with all the particular emotions kind of being released, Kate kind of releases her emotions about her family life, which wasn't exactly great.
Oh yeah, she cuts a promo on her dad at the Blue Bar, which is that cop bar, basically being like, "You're kind of a dickhead, and that's why Mom left," or something to that effect.
I think the case of her mom dying.
I thought, oh, okay, did she die? I thought the mom left, but I could be wrong.
No, I think it was a case of dying, and then just
okay.
Case of her dad burying himself in the work.
Yeah. Okay. So what?
Oh my gosh, the emotion.
What did you think of this episode?
Just with these sort of episodes, I always kind of love or have a bit hesitant to kind of get to it because, especially with certain people, they either want to open light to having a bit more emotion and other sorts of stuff, or they shine it in a bit more of a bad light. But I think with this episode, it hits kind of a perfect balance of the absolute chaos that can ensue when your emotions are out of whack, but also showing the other sides of things and just how opened or closed off that we usually are in daily situations and stuff like that. And just interesting to see that sort of concept of things. I think just with the story of how the group dealt with everything, especially when Angel got affected by it and Doyle and Cordelia had to kind of deal with him. Just like, come on, open the window. It's like, well, like, it's a breaking and entering.
Guys, this is vandalism. We should leave a note.
We shouldn't even know. It's like, oh my gosh. It's like, that's not the magic words, Cordelia. It's like, oh, please. See, no, that's so hard. That's so hard. It's just, the great things that could kind of come from that sort of stuff. I think it was also a little bit refreshing that it wasn't too much with Evil Monster, but just the effects that the demon world kind of can bring into situations that humans can deal with. It's always interesting to see those sort of episodes pop up.
Yeah, it's kind of fun pulling, especially a character like Angel, out of his comfort zone where he, like, now he's like, you know, he's not being himself.
He just has all the emotions. And then, of course, Kate and him just hug it out.
It's very good. Alrighty. So, we do have some... Unfortunately, again, they're not terribly good, but we do have international titles for this episode.
That's good, but seriously, who either left or fired the particular person that came up with the banger titles with Buffy?
I know, the Buffy one, they had bangers all the time. So, in German, this one translates as Confusion of Feelings.
Yeah.
Which, And in French, it's reasons and feelings, which again, eh.
But yeah, still.
Yeah, these haven't been nearly as good as the Buffy ones. Because the Buffy ones were either... Most of them were just dumb. They were funny.
Like the case of they had the title in English and they tried to translate it to them, and they're just like, how the heck am I supposed to make a title out of this?
Yeah, there would be like weird things where they would... Yeah, they were great. We also see that Angel on some security footage that that Wolfram and Hart has, which I'm sure that will come up later when we find out more about the senior partners.
Yeah, the simple fact that the plan with Wolfram and Hart kind of worked, but little Tony kind of didn't exactly follow the plan. He could have easily just left, but oh no, he got caught by a certain police officer. He needs to put her in the dirt for all that particular stuff. Calls back, it's like, your plan didn't work. It's like, no, you didn't follow the flippin' plan. And now things have changed.
Yes. Now, if you have nothing else about this episode, we can have a little tease about what we're going to get next week.
Ooh, what are we thinking?
It is a little episode called The Bachelor Party. Doyle gets upset when his estranged wife Harriet comes to town asking for a divorce so that she can marry another man. She also wants to get Doyle's blessing, and things proceed pretty well. So well, in fact, that Doyle is invited to the bachelor party. However, the groom has, let's say, some nasty plans in store for Doyle.
So the simple fact that he's going through the divorce and all the other stuff isn't exactly going enough for the new husband to be, is it?
No. This will also technically be the first time the show will cross over with Buffy.
Ooh. I suppose that's true, because at the very most it's just been a kind of little cameos with a couple characters that's shown up.
Yeah, there's going to be a more notable crossover, I guess, in this episode. And we're going to mention we're definitely going to mention characters from Buffy. Also, if I'm not mistaken, let me just... No, I don't think it's this episode. I thought we were going to meet a new character, but we're not this episode. I think it's the one after. But soon we will be meeting a new character, and that will be good. Alrighty, so if you have nothing else to add, Dave, I think we'll call it there.
Yeah.
Alrighty, so that has been... not the Bachelor Party, that's next week. Sense and Sensitivity, I've been Paul.
Good, Dave.